Tulsi Gabbard. Oh no. She held her bombshell press conference where she's going to reveal the evidence that Obama is guilty of treasonous conspiracy. Punishable by death, by the way. Treason, they always say, punishable by death, is something the MAGAs are hearing, even if she doesn't say that. Now, my message to Trump was, do it. Try to prosecute Obama. I dare you. First of all, he's immune because of your legal case. That's ridiculous. But also, you know, which is why probably they're not actually going to bring a case, that you don't have evidence that could stand up in court. You're distorting intelligence briefings. You're lying about what was happening. I think Tulsi Gabbard hasn't even read some of the documents that she's referencing. Like at one point, she was making the argument that the Marco Rubio-led Senate investigation into Russia's meddling didn't demonstrate a favoring of Trump when it did. So did she even prepare for this? I don't really know. But this is being described as many as a terrified, panicked, desperate attempt to distract from Epstein. But let's hear what she had to say. A very white suit. Very. It's a good suit.
A brief summary of the details that you'll find within the House Majority Staff's report in their investigation into the Obama-directed January 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment that leads us to the very same conclusion that we announced in the release of our documents on Friday. The implications of this are far-reaching and have to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. It has to do with an outgoing president taking action to manufacture intelligence to undermine and usurp the will of the American people in that election and launch what would be a years-long coup against the incoming President of the United States, Donald Trump. Thank you.
Oh, goodness. Aaron Rubar said Gabbard accuses Obama of attempting a coup against Trump. Up is down. Now, it's not to say, logically, right? I just want to be clear. It's not that Obama couldn't have done a coup and Trump couldn't have tried a coup, both, and we could be against both. It's that Obama didn't, and it's crazy they're accusing Obama of that because I think there's something deep down in the psychology of these MAGA leaders that is constantly trying to convince themselves that what Trump tried to do when he lost his 2020 election wasn't as bad as it was. And this seems like the primary use of it is obviously, number one, for Tulsi Gabbard, which she gets asked about in a little bit. It's really interesting. I'll show you that clip. Trying to get back in the good graces of Trump. They kind of had a little over the Iran intelligence stuff. And her posting that video saying we're closer than ever to nuclear war, but Trump's the president, it's kind of confusing. But number two, to distract from the Epstein stuff. But it's also serving that purpose that they're constantly coming back to. Every time a riot happens, they say, oh, see, that's like January 6th, missing the connection to the broader web of lies that was informing these attempts to prevent Trump from having to leave office. And they constantly come back to this need to convince themselves that someone else did the thing Trump did when he actually was the one who attempted to stay in power despite losing. Then you have this.
Two questions, but to begin on that. The president yesterday, you've inferred that the former president helped lead a coup. Based on what you now see, do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
I'm leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I am not in the...
Do it! Just do it, Pam. I dare you.
Attorney, but as I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American...
That's a crazy phrase to use. That's a crazy phrase to use. Have you read the documents, Tulsi? Have you read the documents that you published? You're not being substantiated. I was shocked that there wasn't more strange, just given how long ago that was. Maybe they had wild assessments that proved not to be accurate. Wait, no, they actually substantiate what we learned over and over and over and over and over again about Russia. Then pressed more by reporters, Gabbard has this moment.
Gabbard, you declassified these documents, if I'm not mistaken, Friday of last week, correct?
We released them on Friday of last week, the first tranche, yes.
This isn't the first time that President Trump has been president of the United States. He was president from 2017 to 2021. Couldn't the prior DNI under President Trump have declassified these documents? And why didn't that DNI do that at that time?
I can't speak to what happened there. There were several DNIs under the first Trump administration. President Trump faced many challenges from those who were working in the government who sought to
the deep state, we get it. So that's a really interesting question. If there's this smoking gun, Trump was trying to prove himself not guilty and disprove claims that even if there wasn't some direct coordination from Trump to Putin, which there was never an evidential link to. There were weird connections between all of his campaign staff, and there were all these different problems. But himself, there wasn't that sort of coordination. And so he could have destroyed all of that if you're being accurate about what it is that you found, which obviously is part of why it's proved that it's not what she's saying. But this part's just strange. She brings up, so let me understand this. She's trying to make the argument that how could Putin have favored Trump if Putin, supposedly she's saying she uncovered, had more information that could be damaging to Hillary Clinton, but didn't release it? And here was one of her anecdotes.
High-level DNC emails that detailed evidence of Hillary's, quote, psycho-emotional problems, uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness, and that then Secretary Clinton was allegedly on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers. Then CIA...
What is she, a horse? What do you mean tranquilizers? I'm sure that's the phrase, but that doesn't associate with me with like downers or like sleep medication. She was on heavy tranquilizers. Well, listen, she's saying the thing that didn't release was that she was emotionally erratic and I guess was on tranquilizers. Me too. I would have been too if I were running against Trump. If that's even true. Also, do you remember Bill Clinton's presidency? Do you remember what happened? Why he had to... And then she's... I would imagine there's some problems there. Emotionally. But apparently she was tranquilized throughout the entire campaign. I'm starting a campaign. I want to see untranquilized Hillary Clinton. Off the hooks, off the rail. She could start a podcast, Untranquilized Hillary Clinton. She's just like, oh. Yeah, okay, so what? How does that... First of all, that's totally unnecessary. You're just throwing everything you can at the wall. You're digging up stuff about Hillary Clinton. When was the last time we heard from Hillary Clinton? But also, she went through and was saying, you know, we know that the Obama administration couldn't have believed that Russia was doing things to help Trump, even though in these documents that we brought forward, that is still substantiated, obviously. But because they supposedly had other things they hadn't yet released because they were planning on releasing them in the case that Hillary Clinton became president to undermine her presidency right as it got started. And they assumed she was going to win despite their chaotic efforts to undermine her during the campaign. And it's sort of, oh, are you hearing yourself? You just explained it. That makes total sense. They were doing a bunch of stuff to help Trump and to just sow chaos, which they're always trying to do. And they also were preparing for what they believed because they thought we were more rational than we were for a Hillary Clinton presidency. And they were getting ready their arrows for that. Okay, that makes sense to me, even by your wording of it. Me not taking much of what you're saying as very valid, it still makes sense. Am I missing something, MAGA? Because this is strange. I'm confused. As we continue through this, please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate the show.
Sure. Given what the DNI just said and laid out, does President Trump believe that President Obama should go to jail for something?
Look, the president believes that this matter needs to be thoroughly investigated, and anyone convicted of crime should be held accountable in this country. Go ahead.
Except for Trump. Sorry. Oh, and the January 6th. Oh, and the Chrisleys. Chrisleys, right? Savannah Chrisley. That was the daughter. They're calling for but it's all just, it's a smokescreen. Just, I don't want to hear a zip about this until you bring criminal charges. Try him. I bet Obama wants that to happen. Honestly, I think the Democratic Party needs this. I think we need to unite around Obama right now. I think we need that in our heart. We're a little bit divided and it's a little bit stressful right now, and the approval rating is really, really bad. But I think if Obama were being wrongfully prosecuted for dumb Trump conspiracies, that would really help us heal. Can you help us heal? Joe Biden could be there at the courthouse. Is it too soon for another Biden impression? Listen, folks, I know Hillary's on tranquilizer, but I was on tranquilizer in the debate. That's why I wasn't doing so well. They put me on the same tranquilizer Hillary's on. Hillary's out there like untranquilized, just jacked up and hyped. I really want to know what that means specifically. I'm probably dumb. They're probably like, that's the common term for NyQuil. We can unite. Mamdani can be there. We can all be there.
Zemdami.
Right. Do you have the Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos came? No? Okay. I was going to reference that. Look at our new Cole cam. Look at Cole. You can see him a little. Oh, my nose. Hello. Let's keep watching this. This is fascinating.
Two questions for Director Gabbard, just on this. Director Gabbard, you referenced the past intelligence reports and assessments on this, including that 2017 one that was signed off, as Ed noted, by every Republican on the Senate Intelligence Community, including the acting chair of the time, now Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said in a statement that they did not find any evidence of Russian collusion, but they did find, however, is very troubling, and they found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling. One, are you saying that he's wrong in that statement that he made then? And secondly, what would you say to people who believe that you're only releasing these documents now to improve your standing with the president after he said that your intelligence assessments were wrong?
Well, first, I want to correct something that you stated, which was citing the Senate Intelligence Committee's report as being one and the same. I think you said the intelligence community. The Senate Intelligence Committee has a very different function than the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The evidence and the intelligence that has been declassified and released is irrefutable. I'm going to let Caroline speak.
I agree with that. It's just irrefutable how much it proves you're being silly.
Speak to Secretary Rubio.
I'll speak to both questions. First, on Secretary Rubio, he put out a statement in 2020 following that Senate Intelligence Committee report, and he said what they found is troubling. We found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling, which the Director of National Intelligence just confirmed for all of you, that Russia was trying to sow distrust and chaos. But what's the outrage in this that Secretary Rubio did not say at the time, the Democrats were saying at the time, is the fact that the intelligence community was concocting this narrative that the president colluded with the Russians, that the president's son was holding secret meetings with the Russians, all of these lies that were never true. And he also said at that time, we discovered deeply troubling actions taken by the FBI under Comey, particularly their acceptance and willingness to rely on the Steele dossier without verifying its methodology or sourcing. The Steele dossier that many outlets in this room ran as the gospel truth, and it was cooked up and paid for by the Clinton campaign. As for your second question, Caitlin, I think who is saying that she would release this to try to boost her standing with the president? Who has said that?
Well, the president has publicly undermined her when it came to...
Okay, we can pick up where we left off there. And again, I'm not here to defend every... Was she talking about the media? Don't bring up the media right now. The media is going to do all sorts of wacky things. Fox News had to settle for $787.5 million because they ran with the Trump administration's hoax that the 2020 election was stolen from Trump. So, yeah, I mean, there are examples of media outlets going way beyond what the evidence showed as it pertains to Russia and Trump, and be mad about that. Totally. It's a little weird. That was a long time ago, but sure, be mad about it. I was like 12 when that was happening, but be mad about it. But one thing that I guess it wasn't in that clip I thought it was going to be that Gabbard did say, because I was watching the full thing, was that Marco Rubio never stated that it was in the interest, this meddling of helping Trump. But Jon Favreau quotes the Rubio report, Marco Rubio saying Moscow's intent was to harm the Clinton campaign, tarnish an expected Clinton presidential administration, help the Trump campaign after Trump became the presumptive nominee, and undermine the U.S. democratic process. Hey, that's terrible, and you did it. Hey, respect the game because you won on that. Think about how weird that is. We could have done it to ourselves probably, and obviously I don't mean that, but it's terrible, the game they were playing. But it's wild how successful it was. Aren't all of us, can we unite, maggots, people, everyone? We totally became what Putin wanted us to be so badly. He wanted y'all to be denying election results. He wanted Trump to come in and rip a bunch of things up. And it's happening. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, everything Trump does is Putin's pulling the strings. It's obviously not. They're just ideologically aligned, so Trump does a bunch of things that Putin likes. But wow, success on that. That list undermined Clinton, which they were doing, and she gave them a lot of things to undermine as well. Just she wasn't the ideal candidate, obviously. Far from it. Apparently, even the tranquilized version of her was not the ideal candidate. But it's really unfortunate how successful, whether it was because of them or not, we ended up manifesting their very goals. And to whatever extent they did influence the election, they obviously tried to help Trump. He ended up being worse for America than I think they could have possibly expected. I bet they thought he might just come in and then he was a lot of bluster and just kind of whatever. But he's done so much generational damage. This is interesting. Fox News had a chyron and it said Comer and Hillary. I think it meant to say Comey, but it says Comer, like James Comer, and Hillary pushed Russia hoax. And Asen said, lol, either a typo or Comer's in big trouble. James Comer's like, what the hell? I didn't help Hillary. What's this defamation? All right, let's see what other clips. There's so many clips. There's just too many of them. I guess let's do this one.
The Senate Intelligence Committee spent several years looking into this and unanimously agreed in a bipartisan fashion, Secretary of State Rubio was a member of that committee, that there was no political interference. There was a years-long Justice Department investigation into this as well that also concluded no political interference. So help us from a 50,000-foot level explain, what do you now have that refutes those two?
Sure. I will encourage you, in my role as the Director of National Intelligence, my job, again, as I said when I came into this role, was to make sure that we are telling the truth to the American people and that we are ensuring that the intelligence community is not being politicized. So I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm asking you and the media to conduct honest journalism and the American people to see for yourself in the documents that we've released now, close to 200 pages, that point in multiple references, multiple examples, to include comments that have been made by senior intelligence professionals, who are some still working within these agencies today, that confirm the conclusions that we have drawn, that President Obama directed an intelligence community assessment to be created to further this contrived false narrative that ultimately led to a years-long coup to...
That's interesting, because she kind of admits a little bit how she's doing funny word games. Obama directed an intelligence community assessment that would further, like it, and then now she's editorializing. So it's like, yeah, he did do that. He said, let's put together a report on what the heck Russia's been up to. And then we found a lot of stuff. And But then she editorializes with the second half of the sentence. So directed an assessment of what happened that would further their lie about Trump. And it's like with little cherry picked quotes of the president directed this. And then with the voiceover going, a terrible false report. But that part's not substantiated. I mean, you can kind of see it developing here. Okay, I meant to show the other part of Caroline Leavitt taking issue with Caitlin Collins saying some people think Tulsi did this to try to get back in Trump's good graces after she vanished off the face of the earth because she was having problems with him.
And it was cooked up and paid for by the Clinton campaign. As for your second question, Caitlin, I think who is saying that she would release this to try to boost her standing with the president? Who has said that?
Well, the president has publicly undermined her when it came to Iran. He said she was wrong. He told me that she didn't know what she was talking about. That was on Air Force One on camera.
The only people who are suggesting that the Director of National Intelligence would release evidence to try to boost her standing with the president are the people in this room who constantly try to sow distrust and chaos amongst the president's cabinet. And it is...
Y'all make it so easy, though. When Trump goes, I don't care what Tulsi says, when he was asked about the Iran assessment. My goodness.